Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, the Rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be working a little bit more on the comic pages that we've been building up over the last couple months. So first up, I do have to apologize if I'm a little low energy. I just ate basically half my body weight in lamb biryani. So I'm a little bit stuffed right now. I don't regret a thing though. Dude, lamb biryani is genuinely such a good food. It's so tasty, but at what cost? Yeah. I don't know why. At some point, I feel like you grow up and you start realizing that, like, eating until you're stuffed isn't fun anymore. It's just kind of uncomfortable and painful. I remember one time when I was a kid, I literally ate so much I couldn't move anymore. Yeah, my brother invited us to this Italian restaurant while we were visiting New York, and I ended up taking up on bread early on. Big mistake. So naturally, a little bit later on, when we had actually like finished our meal, I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm good to go." But then like we had to stop by like a Western Union or something to let me like digest for half an hour. Good food though, really good food. God, it's really not a good idea to overeat, from what I understand. Like, it's genuinely not healthy for you to eat eat way too much. But listen, I don't control the portion sizes at the place I order from. I don't know. I think like generally I don't go for too big of a portion size in my own meals. Like I will put away a lot of food, but I will generally just serve myself like a normal amount of food. It's important to eat until you're full, but it's not a good idea to eat much more than that. Generally speaking, you want to avoid excess. Is what I've come to understand over time. Okay. What exactly do we have left of shade on this page? We have this contraption over here. We have the guys up here. We have some of those stuff back here. We'll just take it one layer at a time, one folder at a time. You see here that we have like 3 folders that we have to get through. So let's just start with this one first. Should probably do these on different layers as well while I'm at it. And select color gamut, this one here. Am I not on the right layer? No, this should be the right one. There we go. Weird how that took a couple of tries to do. Alright, we'll grab the shading from the first page and try to more or less replicate it on this page. The good news is that it's just a bunch of wavy lines and maybe just flattened a little bit. But other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay. There's like a slight divot on, I want to say, this box here. Maybe if I just kind of add something here. I find that one of my biggest difficulties is maintaining consistency with the backgrounds over a couple of pages. Like something, I'll draw something on one page and it won't look the same on the next page. That's something that's always bothered me a little bit. I want to learn how to get a little bit more consistent if possible. Or at the very least, not have it look like I changed reference documents for the character every 2 pages. That's something that I really admire about like really good artists, right? Is that they can do like unique stuff, but also have it be consistent. Like anybody can draw a weird guy, right? but it takes a certain degree, a certain skill set, a certain dedication to make sure that that guy is drawn consistently weird in a way that makes sense and isn't just like. Sometimes when I draw stuff for my own fun, right? I'll just be sketching or something. I will draw an expression and I'll realize, okay, that's not like a unique expression. That's like an expression I've drawn before, just kind of transplanted onto another character. And that's fine. That's not always a bad thing necessarily. But I do feel like it is something I am dissatisfied with, and I'd like to be able to. I remember reading some advice from the person who made Lackadaisy Cats. I forgot their name. I don't remember their name at all. But I remember that something that they noted, they actually made these very cool tutorials that I still think about from time to time on their website about how to draw a lot of things. But their advice for expressions is that for a lot of people, they think of expressions as almost like emoticons, right? They have like this fixed idea of like what sad or happy or angry looks like, and they just kind of staple that onto the characters' faces. They, I use that expression because on the art that they used to describe this effect, they literally had the characters stapling emoticon faces onto themselves, and it was very funny, very impactful. But the core of it is a very wise, a very understandable idea in that if you anybody can like draw a face making like a sad face, a happy face, or anything, but to draw an expression needs to have a lot of different things. It needs context. It needs like appropriate, like the appropriate angle, appropriate perspective. The character's eyebrows must be positioned so you can get really rich with it, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that deep, which is great, but it can be that deep, and I think that that's awesome. That's also why I really like drawing expressions generally. It's just a lot of fun to try and make a face that communicates one idea exactly. I don't know. It's just something fascinating to think about. Okay. Then over here. Oh yeah, we're gonna need the shadow for the box thing over here. Not these two box things in the foreground, just to clarify, this box thing in the background here. In case I was losing anyone. Hmm. All right, what else do I need to do? Something on this one would be good. Maybe even a little further up. Yeah, like that. Come to think of it, these back parts would probably be kind of inverted, right? Like the light parts would show up, but generally they'd be shaded. I need to correct that real quick. We shouldn't use the vector line. Go up the vector path, no. Anti-aliasing, maybe. Yeah, it's very strange. I'll try. The way I draw comics is actually a little bit strange. I've been trying to figure out ways to improve my own, not art stuff necessarily, but the way I set up my canvases, because I've noticed that for a lot of projects, for example, I'm planning to migrate my thumbnail. What do you call? What do I call it? Like, I have a master file of all the thumbnails I've ever made, all the thumbnail art I've ever created for myself. And I've been planning to migrate that to a bigger file, bigger canvas size, just because I've been noticing that first of all, it's kind of a shame, right? It'd be a little bit of a waste if I couldn't make a nice high res version of some of the thumbnails I make, because they're turning out really good in some cases, right? Like the Signalis thumbnails, I can probably scale those up to an extent very easily because I do have vector layers enabled for those, and I can just scale those up. And if I need to make a bigger version of it for whatever reason, I can just make that. But it would also require me to like do some touch-ups on the shading, on the coloring and everything. And it's kind of it'd be kind of annoying. I don't know. I don't know if a good thumbnail is enough to convince anybody to drop a follow, but if it is, I want to have that advantage in my corner, right? I want to be able to make like a nice high res thumbnail. I could always use one of those like picture and beginning websites, right? But those don't seem very trustworthy. Like, I know they work, but I'm a little paranoid about it. Okay. Where were we? Oh, right, the shading on the red part, right. Okay. Gonna add just a little bit of the darker color here so it blends in a little bit more. Ditto for these parts here. Did I miss any other part? I think we're cool. I'll just add a little something here, just in case. Possibly also to this part here. Hang on. Okay, then after that, I think I can get away with doing a little bit more on this copper part, but that's going to come later. For the time being, let me just add shading to this monolith thing here. I really don't know how else to describe it. I guess it could be thought of as a sort of circuit control board or something, control panel, but eh, eh. I don't know about that. Okay, and then anything else that we needed? Again, the boxes I think are on a different layer. Yep. So, oh, maybe a little something for this column here. This part feels wrong. I'll just do it up to the border here. Okay. Anything else we're missing from this one? The brownstone. I think we're good to go. We can just move on to the next folder. Okay, maybe if I just kind of... You know what? What if I just ignore the shadows up here and just make it so that there's shadows for where these two guys are just kind of aiming at? There we go. This guy's shadow would actually be a little bit closer by. Let's see if this one works. Yeah, that works. I could have sworn there was a fourth guy in here somewhere. Maybe I'm just thinking of this guy, but I could have sworn that in the original sketch I had 4 guys up in here. Yeah, 2 more and they could start a burger chain. Let's see. Okay, then over here. We can just do all of these guys, I think. Okay, these. Okay, a shadow here, another shadow here. Nice. Alright, last guy is over here. Let's just take this guy out. Oh yeah, fun fact. If you ever catch me slipping and realize that, hey, this guy seems like he's drawing without really having thought about adding a time lapse to the canvas file. I have added one to this one, I think. Pretty sure. Let me double check that real quick, actually. Okay, yeah, no, we're recording the time lapse. Yeah, if you ever look at me drawing and you're like, oh, hey, I should probably like mention something. I added a redeem that's like 10 channel points or like 1 channel point. I don't remember how much. It's very low. To just remind me to do that. If you ever feel like doing that. If you decide to grant me such compassion, it's available. I have given you the option. Let's see. Can I get away with like not doing anything on the sides here? Can I? Is it possible for me to just kind of reach over and lots of this like this? A little bit. I think a little bit of shading is still in order, but I think it'll be much less substantial than what I've had to worry about in other cases. That's good to know, at least. That reminds me of one time when I remember somebody talking about like the difference between a lot of like Western or not even Western versus Eastern comic stuff, but in general, just how icon stuff works, right? If you draw something really close up, you're going to give it a lot of detail, but if it's like far away, you're going to reduce that detail. And I remember the example that they gave was like this super elaborate looking, very beautiful looking sword being held close up. You could like see the very intricate cross guard and everything. And then they showed another shot of the same sword, but from like farther away. And this time the sword was much more simplified. It didn't have like a lot of the same detail, but you could tell from the silhouette basically that it was fundamentally the same sword. I think that's very useful to think about. Art is very interesting because if you want to, you can essentially turn it into a game of chicken with this person you've never met to see how much of their eyes can recognize visual stimuli to interpret it as the thing that you want to show. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying it's really easy to fall into this kind of mindset. I don't know. Sometimes you really do get the desire to like really take your time with something though. Really go full artisan on it. I think that's also a fine thing. You know, I feel like it's also good to do that every once in a while because otherwise you start becoming a little bit impatient with the speed of your own work, right? Like if you decide to take a breather and do something and it takes like 4 days, right? It's good for you if you are used to doing something in like 3 hours, give or take ad breaks. Subtle self roast there. What I'm saying is that the most important thing is to change your pace every once in a while. Like, it cannot be overstated just how useful and beneficial a break in the routine can be to you. You know, doing something just a little bit different, not like crazy different, but just a little bit different can really have some positive impacts. And I am here for it. I am very happy about that. Of course, the difficulty is that in a lot of cases, in order to make those benefits stick, you do need to be consistent with it, which kind of is at odds with the spontaneous nature of this. But that's life too sometimes, isn't it? Hmm. Me like this? No. Maybe if I work from it backwards. Hmm. Oh, hang on. No way, that's not working. All right, let me try that again. Maybe if I like pretend to have a eureka moment, it'll actually come to me. Actually, yeah, this might work. Hang on. Yeah, check me out. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. I remember whenever I do something like that, I remember this one bit from the Ace Attorney games. I still need to finish the Ace Attorney series at some point. I'm probably not. I've accepted that I'm probably not going to do that on stream. First of all, because it would take forever, and second of all, because it would require me to do a lot of different silly voices, which is very straining on my throat because I'm not a voice actor. Even if I was a voice actor, I imagine it would still be quite the strain. You know, you're voicing like 5 or 6 different people, unless that's like your thing, right? I feel like you that would still be very intensive. Even if it is your thing, right? That doesn't mean that it's not intensive to do it. It just means that you have more experience with it. Like a triathlon athlete still has to do a triathlon every single time they've done one. Just because they have experience with it doesn't mean that it's like easier, right? They just have more experience. It's still a fucking triathlon at the end of the day. Triathlons are the ones where you do like swimming, shooting, and wait, no, I'm thinking of like a winter triathlon. It's swimming, biking, and running. I believe is a normal triathlon or a summer triathlon. That does sound pretty intense, to be honest. I want to do something right here. I just want to disconnect this part. It just bugs me to have it connected like that. Actually, this part here would be pretty much up to here, wouldn't it? Maybe this is it? I don't know. Good enough for now. I think, I guess I could probably like shrink the selection on this one a little bit just to make a small kind of halo for him. I think that looks better, at least. Hmm. Maybe if we... Okay, I think I know what to do for this one. There we go. And maybe pushing it up a little bit would also help. Yeah, I think that helped a little bit. Okay, then for here, we can probably just do a little bit of basic shading on the front part of the suit. Okay, and then we kind of just put this one here, put this one here. That should work. I think we can do a little bit of light shading for the firearms. Or I guess it'll be laser arms, huh? I mean, I don't know. What do we call firearms? Are actually powered by small explosions rather than fire, right? You know, like actual fire. I mean, I guess fire is involved to an extent, but I feel like that was mostly in the early days, right? I feel like fire is less so a part of the conversation nowadays when it comes to propelling small bits of metal at a very high speed. Yeah, the fire in firearms has really kind of fallen off. So I guess we can still probably call these ones firearms. I mean, if you probably concentrate the laser in such a way, it'll probably cause a small fire. Something I'm super paranoid about, even though it's very likely never going to be like a problem that I have to deal with, is a dust explosion. Ever since I figured out that like you can just make an explosion out of just like dust particulates, and by accidentally having an open flame in the same room, I have been concerned about the possibility of causing one. I don't know. I feel like it's my fate to at some point cause an industrial accident. Who knows? Maybe I'll be the catalyst behind the fucking Boston molasses explosion part 2. I don't know. I feel like we don't have molasses factories anymore. Like logically, we do have them, right? Like logically, there is a place that still manufactures molasses and gets those to the supermarket where you can easily purchase them. I just don't feel like they're in the middle of towns no more. I feel like unlike the Boston molasses disaster of yore, the sequel, if you will, would probably just end up being inconvenient to like a bunch of cows, maybe a few birds, maybe like one Waffle House. I don't know. You know, it's hard to say that it would be as devastating or as memorable because it very likely won't be. You know, we actually have like OSHA regulations and shit and like city zoning laws, which limit where we can put those things now as well. So that's another kind of dent in the plan. I mean, that might be a good thing though. Like maybe you know, I don't want to hurt nobody. So maybe if I accidentally cause a second molasses disaster, it being less of it being like less problematic, less difficult for everybody else to deal with would probably be a good thing. I'm not particularly dead set on burning everything down with me when I go. In that regard, it's actually rather convenient. Hmm. Okay, then we have a white part here. And then we do the same for the laser guns. We can probably grab the colors for the laser gun somewhere here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, here. Okay, I think we're good on this panel. Unless we had something else. I think maybe the copper was also something I wanted to touch on for a little bit. Yeah, we can do a quick tour of that. Mainly just making sure that it has I was about to say all the necessary nutrients and meal stuff, but like that's not at all what I meant to say. Let's see. We'll use this. Is the part on the outside like brighter, or is it the same normal color? No, there is a highlight to it. All right, we'll use the hatching. Probably one of these ones down here. That one looks a little strange for the shading. Let's see if we can't find another one. This one might be better. Hmm. Okay, and then whoop, whoop. I don't know, is that too jarring? I feel like that might be a little jarring. Well, whatever. Maybe if we keep it up, it'll look less jarring. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that doesn't look that weird. We're cool. We're fine. It's normal. Okay. Make a gradient down here, and then raise it up here. Okay. Raise this part here. Hmm. Okay, and then like this. And then we can just do this one here. That's the wrong color to shade with, that's fine. I think for this one we don't even really need to go all that ham. We just gotta kind of add the right shadows to the right place. Yeah, okay. I'm satisfied with that. I might want to tone down this part here. Let me see if I can't hit it with a soft eraser so it's a little less vibrant, because that's a little bit distracting. There we go. I will add some extra kind of like glittery bits to this part here as the cover down below, because I do like the idea of that. Okay. Just kind of where the light would hit on the edges here. All right, I think, is that everything? I think that's more or less everything that we needed to do in this panel. Then let's move on to this one. Thankfully, this one doesn't have a background to shade. It's just Hawk looking surprised. So that's going to make my life a little bit easier. Okay. The main idea here is to emphasize the grenade that Hawk is holding. So to accomplish that, what would be the best way to do it? I do think maybe it would be wise to not, hang on, shade this part, or maybe like have like just little hints of it being shaded. I feel like any kind of emphasis that I can add to the grenade is a point in my favor. Okay, and then we can add a little something here. A little something here. Okay, here. I should add a few other highlights here and there. Having it just be like a solid thing of shadow is fine, but I kind of want to add a little something extra, you know? Throw a little something in there. Okay. There we go. That looks a little strange, actually. I'm gonna add a little something here because the way it is right now, it looks like the shadow is the light source is coming from like underneath her. While that could be used to highlight the grenade a little more, I'd rather. Actually, we can still work that. Actually, hang on. Let me see something. Let me see if I can't do something with that, because that's actually a really interesting idea. Okay, over here. Hmm. Let me do the arm next. Okay. Hmm. Hang on. Take this part here. There we go. Okay. I just need to keep adding more and more shadows, and I think it'll start looking like it makes more sense. And if it doesn't, we can just tackle that issue then. Hmm. Okay. Is there anything else that I should shade or be aware of before I move on to the next part? I think we're good for this type of blue at least. I don't know. I've seen some people call things that I believe to be blue green. And I can't really begrudge them for it on some occasions, but on others I'll be like, what are you talking about? I remember one time I was discussing. Do you guys ever have that one person in your friend group, workplace, whatever, that love to play the devil's advocate? I've met two people like that in my life. One person I found it difficult to get along with, and the other person I grew to be like friends with as long as I didn't get into an argument with them. But yeah, one of them, I remember one time we had like this conversation, which and the topic somehow drifted toward the idea of colors, and the person in question was trying to say something like, "Oh yeah, your perception of red might be different from my perception of red," and like like I understood what they meant, but like the way they phrased it, they like it was just very difficult, right? Because we both pointed to the same thing and we said like that's red, right? We both agreed fundamentally that it was red. I think they were just having some issues expressing what they were thinking, but like at the same time, if you want to like get into like the nitty gritty and have some rigorous debate about like philosophy and shit and like the umwelt of the human experience, like come a little better prepared is all I'm asking. You know, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just asking that if you are going to engage in it, at least be like prepared to argue your point. I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of hard to begrudge them because like at the end of the day, we all have things that we have difficulty expressing. Like I know there are some things that I have difficulty expressing, and I wouldn't appreciate that being held against me. But at the same time, it's like this is my one memorable interaction with them. I think there was like another one, but that one's even like less notable. So we'll leave that one out for now. There was an interesting time when like when somebody was surprised that I knew what shank meant. Like they were like, how do you know what shank means?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Why do I know what shank means? Everybody's heard of shank." I don't know. Is it weird to know like a colloquialism for getting stabbed? Like, is that a weird thing to know? I don't think that that's so unusual to know. Like, you watch a single person movie in your life, and you're like, okay, yeah, I know what shank means. Oh, you read like 2 chapters of One Piece, and you realize that, and you're like, oh, so that, I wonder what this guy is named after, and you learn that it's the word shank. Truth be told, I don't know if that is what Shanks is named after. I never understood like the namesakes for a lot of like One Piece names. Mainly because I think they are just like names that Oda thought would sound interesting, so that's why they are like that. But like, in some other cases, it's different, right? Like I remember they were during the fucking Davy back arc. There were like 3 dudes who were named like Hamburger, Pickle, and Bun or something. The Burger Brothers. Literally, that was their whole gimmick. They were like the Burger Brothers. And I was like, okay, I immediately understand what you were going for these guys. But what about like this guy, I say, pointing to fucking, let's say, Buggy. I mean, that's kind of difficult, right? Because I don't know how to put it. If you showed me that character, right? Like if we were doing one of those things where like you had to guess what a character's name is, and you told me that guy's name, the clown was named Buggy, I'd be like, yeah, that guy looks like a Buggy. Like that's the thing about One Piece names is that they are a lot of them are very strange, but none of them feel like they're out of place with the character that they're naming. Mostly. Crunchy wrists. Kind of want to add a little bit more of a gap down here. I don't know, the helmet doesn't need to be that serious. Let's do the wings next, while we're using the same blue. Oh, actually, this might be a really good idea to... a good time to... Hang on, can I reselect this part? Can I just, like, expand that by 1 pixel? Could I... get away with, like, adding an extra highlight? I don't think I could. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting away with that. All right, as you were. Okay, up to around here, and then we'll just... well, let's fill in the shadows first. Wait, no, I can place one... Wait, no, now that I brought up like the topic of like One Piece names, I'm starting to remember some of them. Like, I feel like Zoro is very obviously named after like the character of the same name, Zoro. The bandana might have also been an allusion to that. I remember Usopp is also supposed to be based on, his name is also supposed to be like a mix between the Japanese word for lying and also Aesop the fable teller. Everybody else I'm fucking blanking on. I mean, Frankie is probably like Frankenstein, right? He's supposed to be a cyborg, so that makes sense. Chopper, I don't remember. I don't fucking know what Chopper's deal is. I will say, my favorite part about Chopper is that the fact that you have to say his name twice in order to say his actual name. You know, not a lot of dudes going around rocking the double first name thing. That's kind of all him. Let's see. It's weird to think that names can have trends, right? Like it's kind of strange to think that names can also be trending, or there can be a resurgence in popularity among certain names at certain periods. I remember in Disco Elysium one time they were discussing like what like for example Harry and Joyce's names came from, right? And they were both born shortly after the war that took place in the lore. And so they were both given like very strong, very kind of like victorious sounding names in order to kind of have some auspices, right? I don't know. I feel like that seems like an interesting argument, but like at the same time, I don't feel like there's any family that particularly wishes like ruin upon their baby. You know what I mean? I feel like there isn't any family that's like deliberately naming their son like a major financial fumble or some shit. Like it's very hard to say that any parent names their child maliciously. Like it almost always has some kind of significance to the parent or some kind of well wish behind it. So say that like just in this specific time period, parents were naming their kids something like strong and powerful, or like one that had like good luck to attach to it, feels a little bit weird. Like does that imply that in Revachol and every other century, circumstance, and time period, their parents were just naming their kids some shit like fucking I hope this child slips on a banana peel and lands flat on their ass. Like, is there a child running around in Revachol called Bitcoin Investment that was named like before the war? Hmm. Having the darker shadows on the helmet in this part, it will probably be very useful because it commands it has like a certain kind of urgency to it that I think is very nice. Okay, then over here. Right. Actually, no, we can keep this at full size because what I'm mainly hoping to do is to just add a little bit of shading here, possibly here. I feel like it might be a good idea to just kind of follow this thing, the kind of precedent I've set. I am on the wrong layer, but that's fine. This is just a little bit. We're fine. We're fine. You're good. You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. You're good. All right. Next part. Let's do this part. This part of the mouth here. Hang on. I think I flubbed something here. Yeah, that seems a little better. Okay, let's shrink that by 4 pixels or so. Can I use the soft eraser this time? I feel like the gradient is a little weird. Hmm. Screw it. We'll just do it the normal way. Okay, then we can add parts here. Select this segment here. Just fill in these parts here. There we go. Okay. Next up, we'll do the wing. Oh, that one's not gonna be too difficult. We can just kind of follow a similar procedure. Like we'll need some of it up here too. Okay. Then after that, actually we'll need some here too. Okay. Shading the arms would be a good next step. Okay. Okay, this part here. Great. Now we can do the leather bits. That shouldn't be too hard, I don't think. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. That's something super annoying. Why is it that whenever I feel like the concept of like jinxing myself is a really annoying thing to have to live with, right? Like if you're just kind of sincerely hoping that something won't go badly, that shouldn't kind of ensure that it goes badly. I guess it's something it's like related to like that idea of like manifesting, right? Like if you manifest that there will be no problems, if you act like there won't be any problems, there won't be. But that's not always. I feel like that's such a bullshit kind of thing, even psychologically. Like it's just. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that it's annoying to deal with. Although I guess it might be not true. It might just be superstition and like logically. But then there's the psychological aspect of it too, right? Like now that you've kind of brought it up there, it's kind of like in your mind. You know, that's why I think that manifesting does work in the sense that like it puts the objects of your desire more presently in your mind, and because you're thinking about them more constantly, you're also being more open and able to recognize opportunities where you might acquire those things. And obviously, this only works if you're in an environment where those opportunities exist, which is why it's not got a 100% success rate. But like I understand the possible like psychological driving force behind manifesting, for example. But jinxing is just annoying. Manifesting is saying like I hope things will go well. I think things will go well. Things will go well for me. But then jinxing is like I hope that nothing goes wrong, and then the shit starts going wrong. Like I feel like that's unfair a little bit. Okay, then over here. I had a friend of mine who wanted to try to start doing that manifestation stuff. She also started getting a little bit into stuff like the Tao Te Ching and ideas like that. I don't know. I feel like in a lot of ways, the Taoism and like the kind of like philosophies discussed in the Tao Te Ching are starting to are starting to like feel a little bit of a revival. I can understand why she connected to them because like when I listen to like all right, so fair disclaimer here. The only way that I've consumed the Tao Te Ching is by listening to this like chill step dubstep mix of like brief readings from paragraphs of the Tao Te Ching, interspersed with like some very chill EDM, or I guess no, it's not. It wouldn't be EDM. It's just some very chill electronic music. So that might paint a little bit of my impression of it, rather than searching up the source material directly. But a lot of it, from what I could glean, is about like understanding nature and like the flow of things, right? It's like understanding that things will kind of occur without our input, with our input or without it. And what we can do is either try to arrest that input, which will lead to disharmony because we're trying to interfere with like natural flow, or we can try to live with it, trying to kind of like coexist with that uncertainty, that flow, that natural kind of progression, and reap the benefits of just being able to act according to its flow. And I can see why that would be so appealing as a mindset for people, because like particularly in this kind of day and age where we have access to this information, right? We have access to like more than ever, we have a great understanding of like how much people across the world are suffering. So it's kind of like a welcome idea to be like, okay, if I rather than try to like interfere with that, if I try to like wrestle with that idea for control for things that are out of my control too much, it'd be better if I just try to like understand what is within my control, what I can do, and try to accomplish that. I can understand why that would be kind of something, and not even like try to accomplish those things that are within your control, just like acknowledging that it's outside of your control. I can understand why that might be comforting, but I don't fully agree with that. I don't know. I feel like that's a slippery slope toward it, just kind of ignoring reality. Well, that's how it goes, right? Okay, then over here. Over here. Hmm. Would it be possible to use a soft eraser up here and then just... That doesn't really work, does it? Okay, this one here. Hmm. I'll try a couple more things to see if I can't make the lighting a little bit more dramatic. Now that I'm making these kind of like vaguely cat-like shapes for the shading here, I'm reminded myself of like earlier V was posting this picture of the TV show adaptation of Tekken 3, Tekken Bloodlines. And I'm gonna like pull up a picture of the poster for this, and I need you all to like see if you can tell what's wrong with this picture. Real quick for me. Like it might not be fully obvious at first. My hint is to look at their hair, just real quick. Like you can see that, right? you can see how like Jin Kazama has like an obtuse rectangle here, and like so does Heihachi back here, and Hwoarang, and I don't know all that many Tekken characters. I know Heihachi. No, that's not. Is that Heihachi? I think that is Heihachi. Whatever. But yeah, that's like a thing that happens normally too. Like if you look at across some of these other renders, you can also see that that's just something that they give to the characters. Just this very weird, inexplicable, obtuse angle, very sharp. Oh, this was a right angle actually. Kind of lighting effect. It's interesting stylistically, but I can't agree with it on a fundamental level. I'm kind of interested in the way that they made like 3D models look like that though, because this feels 3D, but like I don't know, there's something very cool about this part here. I don't know. I'm not 100% against it. I'm just puzzled by it, if you will. I'm just perplexed. I'm not against it or for it. I'm just perplexed. Anyway, back to this thing. What is the strangest art style or shading style that I've ever come across? I can't really think of any that have been just quite as puzzling as that one. I remember there's this like weird. I don't remember if I just had this as a fever dream. I remember there's this really weird, messed up cartoon that's like that's like done with like people's mouth superimposed, people's eyes and mouths superimposed over like animated characters, so that it looks like the animated characters have like. I'm not talking about like fucking Angela Anaconda or whatever her name was. That uses the same technique, but it's like a different cartoon. Angela Anaconda is like by accident messed up. Fucking this was like meant to look uncanny, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this is like the old like series of cartoons, of like adult cartoons that were made using that style and were like horror stories and supposed to be as off-putting as possible. And to their credit, you know, substance matter aside, to their credit, I don't think they could have chosen a better style for it, because like if you look at these things, it is like instantly off-putting. Let me see if I can find a picture of it actually, of just like the style of it. Mouth over animated character. Realistic mouth over animated character. It's like Synchrovox. That's the name for it. Hang on. Yeah. Let me show you a picture of it, for example. This is from an old cartoon that used it. It looks bad, right? Like this is uncomfortable to look at. I mean, it could be worse. His eyes are still animated, which is I think what saves this. I feel like if the eyes were like realistic human eyes, that would be 100% like nightmare fuel material. But thankfully that's not what they decided to do. You know, we've been spared that indignity at least. Ooh, I'm kind of liking this. Hang on. Could I? Hang on. How do I make this more manageable? No, I think I should just leave it shaded as is. I feel like that communicates the idea of like it being, or hang on. It's an additional little thing to make up for it. I think that this would be a little bit more useful than just going straight forward like that. Let me try to make this fit the natural curve of my hand. Okay, then over here. This works. Then over here. Hmm. Okay, let me add a couple of extra parts here because this would need to go like a little bit over there. Okay. Then could I get away with adding one here? I think I could. I forgot that I was doing the rest of the leather bits as well. I need to hurry up and finish those. Okay, then over here. I'm gonna need to shade this guy's neck. Okay. After that, I think the next most important part would be this guy's shirt. Hmm. Hmm. Let's do it like this. Okay. And over here. No, that's too much. We could just add something here. What if I just shaded this whole arm? That might not be a bad idea. Just doing it kind of like in reverse. Like what areas would be unshaded, for example? That might be a much faster solution than whatever I'm thinking of. Okay. Let's do that. In the end, it ended up the arm still will be a little bit unshaded, I think. But that's fine. Wait, hang on. I've got an idea for what we can do instead. We can just add a little bit of something here. And that'll make it look like his arm is bent. Yes, all right, we are in business. Okay. Let me take a sip of water real quick. I will say, one of the few things I can't begrudge winter for is the fact that it's just cold water really just does hit different. It's just so much nicer and cooler. Very pleasant to sip on. I mean, you know, the hot drinks are nice, of course, but like, I don't know. Hot drinks don't get me nearly as hyped. I don't go to like a whole lot of cafes and stuff, so being like, ooh, now I can drink hot chocolate now. You know, that kind of stuff doesn't excite me very much. That's not like a bargaining chip to me. Water though, I need to drink that every day, ideally. Not necessarily, but you know what I mean. I do drink water. I do like to think that I'm like pretty decent at hydration. You know, I'm on that hydration grind set, so to speak. You know, even I have days where I don't keep up with it quite as much as I should. It's important to be a little bit vigilant about that sort of thing. Of course, the opposite is also true. Water poisoning can be a big pain in the butt. Isn't that messed up that like you can get water poisoning? Wasn't there like a whole contest one time where like a radio station went like gave away? I remember seeing this on like a freaking on a tweet somewhere. I might need to fact check this real quick before I go spewing around any nonsense. Let me fact check this first. Okay, yeah, no. There was a radio station that was hang on. Yeah, a radio station was doing a water drinking contest where they would essentially award a Nintendo Wii to whoever drank the most water and didn't go for peeing the longest. And one woman died. And apparently they were awarded $16.5 million by the California jury. Holy shit. Like, it's all fun and games until you get to the point where it's like, oh yeah, and also somebody died from this. Christ. Okay, then over here. Yeah, having that on your Wikipedia page of controversies is gonna be like a real. It's gonna be really something, huh? Like, imagine you're just some guy randomly browsing Wikipedia articles one day, and you're like, "Oh wow, an entertainment radio station. I bet this won't have anything messed up in its article. Hey, what's that about the water drinking contest down here in the bottom?" I think the radio station is still ongoing, so it's hard to say whether that actually had any material effect on its longevity. I don't know. $16.5 million is a lot of money for like a radio station. I feel like a radio station doesn't make that much money these days. Or maybe it does. I don't know. Could be some real dosh in playing those radio waves. I remember a long time ago, I was actually trying to do research on like radio station hosts and people like that for ideas for how to behave as a VTuber and as a streamer. My research didn't get me particularly far, but it's still interesting to see how certain people approach entertainment their own way, right? I don't know. I feel like at some point you probably needed to have training. Like I feel like definitely now how we have like influencer academies, right? There are probably vocational schools for how to be like a radio show personality. Now everybody just makes fucking podcasts. Don't get me wrong, I love me a good podcast, but I think that we have too many. Like with radio stations, we had that shit somewhat regulated, right? Like there's like a lower barrier to entry than ever for people who just want to say stuff on a microphone. Case in point, you're watching my stream. I'd like to take that as a good thing, but I definitely recognize that there's been some disadvantages to providing that quantity. I'm not saying that gatekeeping it would fix it. I'm just saying that I understand why they might have gate kept it. I will hear some dudes talking about like some random shit I don't care about, and I'll be like, we should not have let these guys get their hands on a microphone. I remember there's like this one TV series called like Hypnosis Microphone, whose entire like premise is that like people have learned to weaponize sound waves. So now like these microphones, anybody who has like one of these microphones can be a hardcore person, and there's like these like dance battles or like rap battles that take place to like control certain neighborhoods of Japan or whatever. But the thing that I remember the most out of context for that from that series is there was this one part where like this one dude was like threatening like an officer with a microphone, and like out of context it just looked like the guy was like threatening to make a podcast or something, or like he was threatening to start freestyle rapping. I try not to make fun of like amateur stuff. Like if somebody's like doing freestyle rapping, if somebody's doing like radio personality stuff as like an amateur or podcasting stuff as an amateur, I need you to understand that this is not like me putting anybody down. However, sometimes even though people are making stuff and they put all their hearts into it, it can also just be bad. And that's not a bad thing. But at the same time it still doesn't make it good. But it's still necessary, right? Like you understand, like we can't have good art without there being bad art. You can't make good art without first making bad art. It's such a necessary and important step to the creative process, and it's just such a shame that it just makes you like if you look back on it once, if you've stuck with it, right? If you've taken up a new hobby that's like artistic or creative, or it creates something as an end product, there will come a point where you will look back at like the first few things you made and you're like, oh my god, this is like hot garbage. Because now you understand that you're not so good at making it, right? Like you understood your limitations from that point. And it's important to recognize that. But the problem is that like other people will recognize it too. And they won't always be on your side. And I am so sorry that that has to happen. Anyway, I have to repaint part of this. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's maybe for the best that we can't all just like spit out bangers from the word go, right? I feel like otherwise that would create like some kind of poor sense of like what's easy to accomplish and what isn't, right? Like if anybody could like make a really good drawing immediately, it wouldn't it you wouldn't feel, I wouldn't feel, for example, the satisfaction of making a good drawing. You know, it takes there has to be a reason that it takes effort and that it rewards that effort. Something it has to have like a deeper meaning than just like this is something we put our time into because we need to make something outside of ourselves. At least that's what I hope. Okay. Let's add a few things here and there. I don't think that part's necessary. But it's no, it is necessary. I just did it wrong. Yeah, that's also a difficult distinction to make. It's like, is it does it just look bad, or am I just not pulling it off? Right? Like, there's an important distinction for that. One of them you can salvage, and the other one you can't. That's also an important thing to recognize. Is like when am I operating in like the kind of comfort zone where I can confidently say, okay, I can salvage this, and when do I have to kind of like pull a Makima and go like, okay, yeah, this looks unwinnable. That panel is so fucking funny, by the way. It really is funny how, like, in the latter chapters of Chainsaw Man is super interesting because there's no like established power skill, right? It's not the same in a lot of shonens in that regard. That like we know for a fact that A can never defeat B, right? Like we know that Denji is like insane, and that's fine. But like we don't know for a fact that he wouldn't be able to defeat person A or person B. He might just be able to like do something incredible at the last minute. So that's why it was super hilarious. It was very funny when we had like this fight between Denji, who at this point was, I don't remember if he was like in the being taken over by Pochita at that time or not. But we have Denji, who up until now has just been kind of like characterized as this very, he's strong, but like we don't know if he's like end game strong yet. And for like an entire chapter, he's just beating the shit out of like five other weapon people, weapon hybrids, and like beating the shit out of Makima as well. And she's like, okay, yeah. In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have stepped to the guy that I've been training to fight like the end boss. And it's just very funny. Like it's very interesting as well because like it becomes, instead of being like, is our protagonist strong enough to defeat the end boss? No, he is absolutely strong enough to defeat the end boss. The problem is that one, the end boss can like regenerate and like redirect damage, and two, it's not like emotionally fulfilling if he just keeps splatting her infinitely, right? That's something that I think is super important. Is that it's fine. It's fine if like you just splat to the end boss, but having it have like that emotional core is also so important. I feel like that's like one of the reasons that the Namek saga still clears is because there's like a bunch of different emotional stakes in place when Goku is fighting Frieza. We like at that point we've seen a lot of unlikely alliances come together. We've seen like people turn on each other. We've seen things that are unexpected, strength that we've never seen before. This guy Frieza's just beating the shit out of everybody up, down, and around. And nobody knows if Goku will be able to take him. And we know that Goku will be able to take him probably because like at this point everybody's just been waiting for Goku to arrive as like a narrative thing. You know, fucking Gohan isn't gonna step to Frieza. Gohan couldn't even step to. It's just become like a recurring character thing that like Gohan can't step to anybody, or rather is unwilling to step to anybody. In any case, it's about building the right stakes, right? I've talked a lot on this channel about how a lot of like Japanese media, particularly manga and tokusatsu, even is built on like wrestling stuff, right? It's built off of the back of like wrestling. So, and like you need to establish like the antagonist, the heel is like extremely strong by making him work through a bunch of normal guys that were thought to be strong or are established as being strong in order to establish them as a threat. I think I lost the thread that I was hanging on to here, but I digress. Yeah, emotionally fulfilling storytelling will always be just like pure power level nonsense. And the cool thing, what they don't tell you is that emotion can be stuff like, hey, Sif, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. I'm Paps, a rising VTuber and an artist. I do stuff like make comics, draw illustrations, do a little bit of pixel art. But yeah, how are you? That's our Spider-Man. Oh shit, were you playing Spider-Man? Nice. Hang on, let me bring up the shout-out function. Doing well? Hey, nice. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. If you got to head out, no problem. Feel free to mosey along. If you want to stay and chat, that'll also be appreciated. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you've been doing well. Yeah, we've been working on this comic here. We need to do these 2 more panels. Spider-Man 2, we were doing a major Miles part, and I was talking about how Miles was getting enough respect from the modern day fan base and stuff. And he went incredibly hard. Mm-hmm. Nah, I saw V play through some of the Spider-Man 2 stuff. Yeah, Hawk Starling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw V playing through some of Spider-Man 2, and I do feel that like Miles is definitely not. Oh, thank you for the follow. Yeah, thank you. I'm also excited to see the comics start to slowly come into circulation. We're doing like 1 page a week from now on Raf's Twitter, and yeah, it's been interesting so far. I definitely feel like I've learned a lot of different things through making the comics, so I hope everybody will be able to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. The main thing I learned that during making the comic is that making comics is fucking hard, but it is rewarding. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is kind of interesting seeing. Oh wow, I erased like an entire thing. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, right? Like, you were talking about how like they were giving Miles some. Nobody's like giving Miles enough respect for like doing all the things and stuff he does, and I think that's an interesting part of like the narrative, right? Because like I feel like if Miles isn't getting like enough props for being able to keep up with stuff, I feel like that's yeah the wrong layer. It's heartbreaking. You hate to see it. It's needless to say, it's a problem. But we figure it out eventually. It's like he does get a lot of flack. Like a big thing is how Miles in merch is just called Miles rather than Spider-Man. Oh, okay. You mean okay? I was wondering if you meant like in the narrative or outside of the narrative. Because I was gonna say like they're doing like that like as an in narrative thing. That would be a very interesting way to approach it because like everybody's doing like a mentor passing the torch kind of thing is always fucking annoying, especially I feel like when it comes to comic books because everybody just wants like is to like, but this isn't our guy. We want the original guy. Why is this a guy who's not our guy in this? Yeah, I don't keep up with Western comics too much, unfortunately. So I can't say whether or not there have been more good or bad parts, but it's good to know that he has had some major ups. In game, he struggles with a lot of self doubt, but seeing him overcome it is insane. Nice, you do love to see that. It's definitely a way of writers addressing that issue to the audience directly. Mm-hmm. Still on the wrong layer, but we. How could we ball? I'm just gonna do that on the wrong layer now. Yeah, no. It's interesting, right? Like I feel like the benefit to a lot of comic book media, particularly comic book video games, and like the way Insomniac does it as well, is that it's a good opportunity to kind of explore a sort of meta narrative, right? Like it's a good like they are able to play on people's expectations in order to they have that opportunity. It's not always taken advantage of, but I do think it's interesting the kind of way that you can tell new stories with like with like this outside of the narrative context, right? Like I remember when I was in high school, right? I was reading this play called Antigone by John Ennui, not the like Greek version of Antigone, the John Ennui version of Antigone. And throughout the whole thing, I was reading this and I'm like, man, this is like a really weird story. Like everybody's just like being super stubborn when they don't need to be, and that's weird. But then I was given the context that the novel was written during the Nazi occupation of France, and I'm like, oh shit, now this pops off. Because like now it's changed from a narrative where people are like needlessly stubborn for no goddamn reason to people being like, all right, we're fucked, but we're gonna keep fighting anyways. And it's super interesting how that flips the entire narrative around, and I think that that's a really cool benefit of just having a property that's like millions of years old now, relatively speaking. You know, I mean, how long has Spider-Man been around technically? Yeah. Hang on. Spider-Man. Like how long has my guy Peter been around for? 1962. Almost 60 years. 60 plus years. 62 years actually. My man is fucking old as balls. But yeah, no, you have a lot to work with in that time period, and they do work with it. That's why I feel like the Insomniac games are so well received, is that they do work with that idea of like what is it to be a hero, what is it to be Spider-Man, in a way that is only possible with like so much established continuity, and I think that's really dope. Okay, I think it's just a little the last few parts on this grenade, and then I think we're good. We should be good for this panel. I missed the inner circle of this other grenade, but that's fine. We can just do that real quick. Okay, there we go. We can add just a tiny, just a very small little like other blip here. I think that'll really, or actually, yeah, like this. There we go. That helps it come together, I think. Okay. I missed the helmet shading. Hang on. Or like the leather strap just right here. Oh yeah, I guess I missed the goggles too, huh? That's an easy fix though. Okay. Add this part here. All right, we're going to select the goggles here, and I'm just going to do some random strips across them just to make the metal shine effect. There we go. I could probably also do something with the eyes here. Just a little something, something. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right, we can move on to the last panel, which might be a little bit challenging. This is going to be... I mean, the good news is that I've gotten the heavy lifting out of the way and just already made the explosion effect there. The rest of this is just going to be shading this kind of craggy cliff side and also the metal on the outside, which is not really that problematic, actually. Hang on. Let's see if we can low diff this. All right, which layer is this? Okay. I should label these. Okay. Luckily, we have the darker color for the copper over here. So we can just kind of take advantage of that a little bit. I think even if I kind of... I'd have to look out for this part here, but that's easy enough to work with. Let me see if I can't make this a little bigger so it's a little bit more easy to maneuver. Can I go eat now? No problem. Yeah, no, thank you for stopping by. Thank you very much for the raid. Enjoy your meal. Yeah, have a good night. Later. I'll keep plugging along on this. I have an idea that may or may not work for this. I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't know about the thing that I did here just now. I think the best thing to do might actually be to layer these on top of one another. By that I mean I'll get a darker color here and I'll actually make it even darker. And then I'll use that to in the place of like an actual darker color. Probably on another layer so I can have a little bit better control of it. Okay. Let's see. I think if we chip away at it little by little, I think it'll look a lot more like what I was planning for it to look like. Which is what we want, to clarify. Maybe if I use a different blending mode. Like, I want it to be richer, but also darker. In a way that's not quite like what Now it's showing up here. Hmm. For the time being, let's make sure that we clear out this part here that's not supposed to be shaded at all. Or rather, it's going to be shaded with the highlights. Hmm. It's missing something. I think we need to... Maybe the trick will be to actually making the whole thing a little bit coarser. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, I think that was a right call because now it looks a little bit more textured. I think it looks a little bit closer to how I was imagining it. And I think hang on, I realized something as well. This part here is supposed to be like a little chunk of ground hitting the wall. Increase by 1 pixel. I just want to have this area here open so that I can shape it properly. Just add some nice highlights to it. Not the right color, hang on. There we go. This should be that should be it. Actually, we can probably even take it 1 degree higher. Likewise, you can use the darker colors from this part here to really emphasize just how the contrast in the lighting here. The ground will also need that. Select, color gamut, this thing here. Increase that by 1 pixel if you please. I think the best idea here is to make one of those radial rulers and make there be like a shockwave. And radial line. I think there's a way to make radial lines like... Oh no, hang on. I remember now what we have to do, and it's a little bit annoying, but if we can do it. Alright, step 1 is to add a radial line ruler on any layer ever, and then just make the radial line in question. Probably help to thicken it up a little bit. We are going to be doing this for a little while, so get comfy. But yeah, the idea here is to basically make a shockwave, which we'll then flatten using the transform tool. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that it's a full circle. Although I guess it doesn't really need to be a full circle, it just needs to be like a quarter circle or maybe a half circle. 2/3 of a circle? I'm going to call this area here like 2/3 of a circle. But it needs to look strong. There. That way we can just kind of... Oh, this is also a bad layer to be doing. This is... Fuck! Oh man, how much progress did I lose? Please, please, please let me get all of these out. No, I missed some. Fuck. Oh. Well, that happens too. Let's get rid of that ruler for now. Maybe we can kind of like skirt around it, you know, surgically remove these lines. Thankfully, it managed to get most of them. That's something at least to be grateful for, you know? It'd be nice if it could get all of them, but hey. And that probably also explains why it wasn't fully visible. I'm noticing that I missed a lot of different spots on this. Hang on. I'll get back to the lines in like a second. I just need to fill these up or else it's going to bother me. What's this one? There we go. All right, screw it. I'm going in. I have an idea for how to correct this. And it's not going to work, I think, but it might. And if it does work, it'll be really funny. So what I'm planning to do is to select the gamut here for the copper color. And that way I will grab this with the what do you call liquefy tool. I'm just going to stretch it. We can add a little bit more texture with the brush itself once we're a little bit further along. But I feel like this will work. All right, that looks horrendous. Good job, everybody. Yeah, let's just grab the layer color here and go for it. Actually, this would probably be like a clearer section, right? Because it'll get a lot more of the explosion. So I should actually like clear up this part. There we go. I think that works. Anyway, let's take that from the top, shall we? All right. I'm going to take this opportunity to grab a couple of these and make sure that I've named them properly this time. All right. We should be good now. Let's try doing this one more time. Actually, it would be a better idea to do this using a vector layer because then I can... I'll show you what I mean. Or wait, actually, no, we don't need a vector layer for this. We can just use a symmetry tool. Symmetrical ruler, number of lines, let's say 6. Okay. There we go. Now we're in business. There we go. See, in the end, it turned out to be a good thing. I had to innovate something for this, and it made the process a lot faster than just having to redraw the circle. I should probably save my work, speaking of which. Okay, we'll make the inner ring a little bit wider while we're at it. Okay. Okay. We'll flatten this, or like at least erase the rulers. Then just use the transform tool like this. Expand that. May shrink it down just a little bit. Yeah, okay, I think this will work. Now we can get to erasing the parts that are unneeded. Just a small trim, just like an inch off of the top. God. It's very... Wait a minute. I think I missed a spot. There we go. Anyway, something that I made sure to write down the last time I was at my barber's is how much they took off of the sides of my hair, because every single time I go there, they're like, "Oh, how much do you want me to take off? Like an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 2 inch, one hand span?" And it's like, I don't know what all those measurements are. Like I was born in like a metric system country, right? Like I've been using metric system my whole life. But the problem is that even then, even if they were using metric, I wouldn't be able to say it accurately because I don't know, like relative to the size of my hair, how much hair I want gone. Like, to clarify, this is 100% a skill issue on my part. But like, even if I had a good sense for how long an inch was, I wouldn't be able to confidently say I want that much off of my hair because I don't know I don't measure how long my hair is. I don't know how much it is relative to the rest of my head. So last time I went to my barber, I made sure to ask them, okay, how much did you take off? And I wasn't very happy with it, so I think I'm gonna ask them to take like a quarter of an inch less next time. Or a quarter of an inch more, I don't remember. And I'll take a look at the pictures I took afterwards. Oh yeah, hang on. Filter, blur, sharpen. Sharpen more. There we go. That makes it look a little less low resolution at least. Okay, then over here. Okay. Let's remove this part here. I'm not sure how to give this explosion more oomph up at the top here, because obviously I can like add some more shadows to the surroundings of it, but I don't know how to... Hang on. I might have just had an idea for how to do that. Let's use this one. All right, we can do it like this, and we'll add a little bit of shading to the rocks around it, and then increase it wherever like there's an obstruction. Okay, and then we can add just a little bit more off to the sides here. Gotta be careful not to get too loosey-goosey with these too. Something that annoyed me, but it was very useful to know, was to check my, what do you call it, my cross-hatching for any kind of like line flicks. To give you an idea, if you do a little bit of cross-hatching, right, you want like these nice straight lines, but if you do them too quickly, you'll find yourself like making these little curls at the end from where you moved on to the next line without taking your pen off of the proverbial paper. Proverbial or literal paper. I don't know if you're all doing this digital style like I am. But yeah, my art professor told me to check on that every now and again because there was a point where I really liked doing cross hatching. Well, I still enjoy it to a degree, right? It's just not always easy. Okay. I think we can just do a little bit extra over here, and then we can move on from the inside of the dome to the surrounding landscape. Or actually, we need to shade this part of the pillar too while we're at it. Hmm. Let me grab this and just do a very slight soft erase on it. I think that's the best way to go. Okay. Let's do this part of the container to make it shaded. Okay. Then next up, I think we can just focus on the surrounding landscape, which will actually be fairly easy. It'll be, well, maybe I shouldn't underestimate it. All right, we are going to need the darker color from here. Just kind of around here, I think, starting from there, and then okay, going down, going up, going back up. Oops. Okay. But yeah, from there, we'll actually do a little bit more cross hatching to make it obvious that the grass is being blown away. And we'll also be doing that for some of the shaded areas too, but for now I just kind of want to focus on this. Okay. Okay. This part here. I think I might have missed some other part somewhere. Yeah, like right here. This bit too. I just want to make sure I haven't left any stone unturned, so to speak. I would get like unreasonably mad if I accidentally beefed some of the shading on this page. Just because it's such a nice looking page to begin with. And I would hate to just fumble it on the last panel. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm gonna think that like I'm gonna say we're gonna need to shade all of this under rock stuff. And also we're gonna need to work a little bit harder on like the grass that I was talking about here. Okay. Okay. Then after that, oh, I have an idea. We should make a little bit of a indent here for where the light would shine through. Similar to how we've been doing on the other panels. Okay. And over here. Then doing it like that. Just kind of tracing across this entire part. Yeah, I think that really adds something to it. Okay. Dude, if we finish this page today, I'm going to be so happy. I really want to move on from this series of pages. I think from here on out, it's... Well, thinking about the work I still have left to do is a useless endeavor. I have to do the work anyway, so it's not good thinking about how much I'll have to do. In any case, it's good to know that I've made progress, if nothing else. That's a feeling I should focus on. Okay, and then over here. Perfect. Okay. A little bit here and there too, while I'm at it. Ooh, actually, that's a good idea. Let me add a couple more of these like small flicks where it has like a juncture. Okay. And over here, here, here. All right. I bet we can use even this brighter color here for where the very tops of this part would be shining through. It'll be almost like a different, like the opposite of the other one. All right. After that, I think we need to do a little bit more for the thing here, the thingy here, rock part. I think after that we can start using a few trees to add the final touches to it. But we are on track for this. Okay. Then over here. And over here. Okay. We'll use this. All right. And we can probably add a little bit of a kind of like edge shadow here, just to kind of demonstrate that it's kind of curving around. All right. Next, I was talking about some trees. What I mean by that is, let me add a folder here so we can get organized. Because the thing is, we're going to have a layer before the trees in it. Like the trees are going to go in front of the structure here and behind the structure too. So there's really no need to worry about anything besides that. If I go back to page 4, should be able to grab a couple of these color references. Let's see, background, trees. Okay. Then we're gonna make one shade darker. For ones in the back. Maybe not that much more saturated than these ones. And almost like a straight drop like this. Yeah, okay. Then another slight drop. Now that's too much of a drop. There we go, that's much better. Okay, we'll have that one, and then we're going to have another one behind the structure. And that one's actually going to start out much lighter. What's the lightest one that I have here? Probably like even a shade lighter than this one. And then I can start layering. Oh, shoot, I messed up, I think. Wait, no, I did. Let's just carry forward, because the problem is that I need to layer this one a little bit more thoughtfully than the ones behind, in front of the explosion. Because for these ones, I'll need to make a layer every time I want to go one row back. I could just plan more carefully from the beginning, but that's not really how I roll. For a guy who hates having his routines disrupted and his plans disorganized, I love improvising. Okay. Kind of want to have a darker color right here. Maybe something like this. Hang on. Oops. All right, let's see here. Santal around here. And here. All right, that should fix... Okay, that didn't fix most of my problems, but that's fine. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, okay, this looks much better. All right, so here's the plan. Main structure. So I'm going to copy and paste this layer here, and I'm going to just make it do a radial blur out. All right, so filter, blur, motion blur, radial blur, I mean. Motion blur is useful, but it's not what I want. Motion blur feels like it's moving, hang on. It takes a while to process for some reason. That arm just not seeing it. Hang on, I've got an idea. Rectangle. And now we apply the effect. Okay, yeah, that's going a little bit faster, although it is, I think, moving them out of existence, which is an unfortunate side effect of what I want. Where's this X? Okay, what happens if I do it here? It just seems to be taking a while to process, which is annoying. I might just say here and then process it and then see what happens. Oh, that's taking a while to calculate, fellas. Oh, that's a little too much. God, I hope this doesn't crush my computer. I kind of need that to goof around. The good news is that this is doing exactly what I wanted it to. The bad news is that I am going to need to redo it. Alas. All right, let's have that process. That's about what I wanted. And then we'll have this one. Merge the selected layers, filter, blur, radial blur. Once again, outward in this direction. Maybe more than the other ones. Yeah, okay, I can live with that. All right, with that, I think we are pretty much done with this page. I could probably add an effect to the main stage here to make it rumble a little bit. Maybe I should do that, actually. Hang on. Filter, blur, motion blur, both directions. Remove the ruler. And then with the, maybe the kneaded eraser or maybe the soft eraser, I don't know, one of these two. I think that looks good. I think we can work with that. All right, another page down. I am very proud of our progress. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with this. Yeah, let's see who all is streaming right now. Tomorrow I'll be playing that one game that's like, you wanted those games, right? Well, here you go. They're basically those crappy phone games that are for like Bitcoin mining apps that you see on your phone, but they've decided to make those into actual games that you can play. So we'll be doing dabbling on those. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. We're going to be raiding into Corgi, and I will see you all later. Bye. Thanks again to Sif for the raid.